Hey guys, it is Bible Scribe. Thank you for joining me tonight. This video is loosely about the Septuagint and the everlasting Father, or actually, we're specifically looking at that phrase, everlasting Father, within the context of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, where it says, Wonderful, Counselor, Almighty God, Everlasting Father, all those different things. That we all know that verse from Isaiah as a prophecy of Christ. But I'm doing this video because if you followed my channel, the last couple of videos ago, you saw me do some videos on the Trinity and that topic. And so I had a viewer in my comments ask about the verse in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, that says that foresees Christ and calls him everlasting Father in most of our modern translations, or many of them at least. And so it was hard for me to answer off the cuff because, my other videos had to do with the Trinity and whether or not Jesus ever claimed to be God the Father, or if the scriptures ever actually called Jesus and God the same, one and the same. And if you want to see more about that, go back to those videos if you haven't watched them. But I wanted to answer this person, but I wanted to give them a good answer. And in doing so, it took me on a lot of study that took me into some ancient languages. I wanted to share this with you guys because I think this is important for any Christian who is serious about the Bible, to see what came out of this study, where I was trying to validate that phrase in Isaiah 9, verse 6, that foretells Christ and calls him the everlasting Father, quote unquote. So I just wanted to show you this because it's a lot deeper of a question than most people would think. And probably 99% of Christians who come to that kind of question would think the answer is very straightforward. You would think, well, it says everlasting Father. That's what all the Bibles I've ever read have said. So that's what it obviously meant. That's what it obviously was saying. But we're going to see, as you follow with me through this video, you're going to see how complicated it is to answer that particular question, because it's just not as straightforward as you might think it is. So in answering this person who just simply, and they very calmly asked, after watching my videos on the Trinity, they said, could you please address this verse which calls Jesus Christ the everlasting Father? So I went looking, and in front of you is a version of the Bible that, as you can see, was put together, assembled by Cisneros in the 15th century, give or take. And so this Bible, a polyglot Bible, and you're going to learn a lot about these kind of textual criticisms and things as we go here, because you got to learn some of these terms. But a polyglot Bible, poly meaning many, was a Bible that had multiple languages of the scripture in parallel, side by side. So each page of this Complutensian polyglot Bible has 3 or 4 columns. I think this one has 4, and one is Latin, one is Greek, one is possibly Hebrew, and then one may be Syriac or something like that. So and you can kind of see that over here to the side in this view. And I'm trying to manage a few different things in Windows, so bear with me. But you can see there that that's Latin in that column there. And then over here you can see the beginnings of the Hebrew. But this is one of the Bibles that I found when I was trying to iron out what does this verse, Isaiah 9:6, actually say in our manuscripts, in our manuscript evidence of this passage. What does it say? And we're just going to start with this one, but I'm going to take you to some even older ones that I actually was able to take samples of Greek and map them word for word with Greek. And so in that way, I'm able to give us the English translation straight out of the manuscript for these different ones we're going to look at. I started with this Complutensian Polyglot Bible, and you can see here, this is the start of chapter 9, verse 6 right here, and it says, and this is a very literal translation of these Greek words, but you can see once we read it, you'll see where our translation came from. And remember, most Greek versions of the Old Testament came from the Septuagint. That was their original origin. So we may touch on that a little more as we go, but just to read through this real quick, it says, "For a child was born to us, a son was given to us, of whom the dominion came upon the shoulder of him," or his shoulder, "and is called his name Great Counsel, Angel." Now that's the part you may not have heard before, but is in all of these Greek versions of the of this chapter of Isaiah. "Wonderful Counselor." Now that's in most of our translations. Now, "Deity Mighty." Now our translations render the word theos, or deity, with a capital G, even though it's not capital here, as you can see. None of these letters are capital, by the way. But it's rendered with that lowercase g, or theta, theos, for deity, or the word deity, or lowercase God, and the word mighty, so deity mighty, authority, ruler of peace, Father of the coming age. Now this is where I think some of our modern translations have gotten the term everlasting Father. And when we then have seen the words everlasting Father, because the New Testament talks about God the Father, in fact, you will be hard-pressed to find God the Father in the Old Testament, because the Jews didn't refer to God that way until the Son came along. Then God was the Father and known as such. But you should do this, because I did it, but you should go into the Old Testament and look for any place where it says God the Father, or that God is the Father. Now, I did find one where it says he's the father of Abraham and stuff like that, but you're going to have a hard time finding the God as Father motif in the Old Testament, except for this verse, which is where most people assume it's talking about God the Father. But if you come to this with new eyes, and as you're seeing, we're going through some original manuscripts here, it says instead something a little different. So this says, "Father of the coming age, bring surely peace upon the rulers." Now these rulers, this is the same word that's always used for the angel principalities of the heathen nations. "Surely bring peace upon the rulers." This was one of the things Christ was meant to do as part of the prophecies. He was going to rein in all of the angel principalities of the nations when he came in the first century. To continue, "and his purity, and great his rule, and the peace of his," I'll have to scroll here and get my cursors and everything set right. "And the peace of his, there is no end on the throne of David, and the kingdom of his, to build his and take hold, in judgment and with righteousness from the present and into the next age." And of course, this age language is talking about the Jewish age and the transfer into the new age, the new covenant age, or the age of the Messiah, right? So it was the whole Jewish age and then the age of the Messiah. So everything, all the prophecies, most of the prophecies in the Old Testament are talking about the transition between that age to the age we are in now, which is the age of Messiah. And so now you can see how when you start going back in time and looking at these Greek texts, it's not like our modern texts. It's not written down the same way. The capitalizations are different. They take, just as any Trinitarian would coming to the text, if they had Trinitarian thought in their head, God the Father, God the Son, the Holy Spirit, then they're thinking, when they see everlasting Father in our modern translation, or this Father of the coming age, they change this and say, I think that this is talking about the forever Father, the everlasting Father. And then it turns into a Trinitarian statement about God the Father. All right, so we've done one manuscript now. Let's go to another one. This now is the Codex Alexandrinus. And I will zoom in on it for you. But you can see I pulled this out of a copy I found online. This one was one of the hardest to find online. I have a PDF of the whole thing, but I pulled it out, and you can see how, man, these Greek words were the hardest for me to match up and figure out what words I was looking at. But I still was able to do most of them. But you can see chapter 9, verse 6 starts on this line, and the first letter, it seems, of each verse was capitalized. So that was an indicator, but I had to search through this thing myself and figure out where this verse is. It's not easy. You can see how hard this is, though, to read. These letters look all like blobs, but thankfully I was able to find most of it. And you can see how it is stated here in a very literal translation of each Greek word. And I've underlined the words there, so you can see I did map out each single word and then translate. For child born to us, son, and given to us, of whom the dominion came on the shoulder of him, and is called the name of his great counsel angel. And there's that statement again that I said is it's gonna boggle your mind because most people don't ever see this. But great counsel angel, wonderful. And then I moved down here to this next section. Let me just get it scrolled up in the view for you. Counselor, mighty, authoritative, ruler of peace. Again, here's this phrase, Father of the coming age. And all those words I mapped out, they are the exact words in the Greek. Father of the coming age. Now, of course, Jesus was the Father of the coming age because it was the age of Messiah. He was going to reign as king in the coming age. And so saying that he was going to be the Father of the coming age makes complete sense, because now we understand those prophecies and we can see when we come to something like this, wow, he was going to be the Father of the coming age. He was the Messiah. It's not saying he was God the Father. It's saying he was the Father of what was coming. Surely bring peace upon the rulers. Now you see there's a part here where I could not translate the words. They either didn't match my sources I had, because I am not a fluent Greek scholar in any sense. I'm just matching up the words and the letters, making sure they're right, and then I can verify that they're the same words that I'm seeing in other versions of the Greek New Testament or Old Testament. But I couldn't translate some of these, so that's where you'll see these brackets in this one. The other sources I was able to get the whole thing translated. But you see the same phrases that we read in the last version. Surely bring peace upon the rulers, those angel principalities, and great dominion of his, and the peace of his, no, there is none. And I put in brackets end because I think that's probably what it's talking about. Again, there's no end to Jesus' reign in the coming age. And so you see here again that as my viewer asked me to verify that everlasting Father was in this text, you can see that it's not quite there like that in these older texts. Let's go a little bit older now. This is the Codex Sinaiticus. And you can see that the copy I was able to find online of it was a little better than what I found with the Alexandrinus. And here we go. Here is Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. And you can see I have put the words out underlined for you. And I realize right now, let me see, I think I may have to. Well, I don't think I actually put the words in, but I did match them up. And just so you know, it says about the same thing exactly as we had just read. There was not much change between all these different Greek versions. I think I had intended to put the words up there for you on this one, but maybe forgot to get to it. So the other one I was going to look at was the Codex Vaticanus. I went to it as well, and I did translate this one. You can see Here's a page of the Vaticanus that is all part of the book of Isaiah. And this is online as well, that you can go and you can see. And if you understand Greek, you can map out these words. You know, even if you don't, like me, I don't understand all of Greek, but I know enough to be able to match the letters of the Greek alphabet. And so I went to a version of Greek that was a parallel version with English. So I knew the words, I knew what I was looking for, and then I came to these versions and I found those words. And for each word, then I was able to translate the meaning very easily with Strong's Concordance and other helps. And so anyway, just to reiterate, that's kind of what I've done here. I haven't done anything that you can't do if you want to. Go to these texts and map the words out and figure out what it's saying in these texts. So this Codex Vaticanus and all these codices, I believe they all came about and were dated to about the years 500 to 800, if I'm not mistaken, AD. But we're about to go to one that's much older. So here we go. Isaiah 9:6. For child born, to us son given. And sometimes I've left out the articles like a or an and the, because sometimes, or generally, the Greek doesn't have all those articles. It doesn't use all of them like we do. Son given to us, whom the dominion came on the shoulder of his, and is called the name of his great counsel angel. Again, there's that same phrase as we saw before that I said is it's different, and most people don't see that. But this word angel is angelos in the Greek right there. And so we have got to recognize this, and this is taken out of most of our modern versions. It's just simply not put in. They say wonderful counselor. They say some of those other phrases. They leave this one out completely. And I really can't explain to you why that is. Bring indeed peace to the rulers, or on the rulers, those angel principalities, and purity his. And that's where I stopped translating, just to get the idea. This is saying the same thing as all those other versions that we have gone through now. And now we've gone back to about the year 400 or 500. I can't remember exactly when Vaticanus was dated to, but it's about that time frame, about the time frame of Augustine. And so you see the difficulty in pinning down some of the phrases from our modern translations when you go back to as far back as you can go. All right, now we're going to go back even further. Now this is as far back as we can go. This is the Isaiah scroll from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So we know this is at least from like around the first couple centuries before Christ. So 100 BC, 200 BC, we're not exactly sure, but these were used at the time just before Christ, within the last 50 years before the birth of Christ, because they were found in the midst of all the Dead Sea Scrolls with the Essene community in Qumran. And so they know that community was active about that time frame. So they obviously had these and were using them at that time. As far as when they were, when this copy was made, nobody knows. Nobody's gonna know. But let me pull up. I've got all the layers on this, so I can show you as I'm going through here. I've gone here, and this is Hebrew now. And again, I did the same thing with the Hebrew that I did with the Greek. I can look up the words in Hebrew, and I can match them word for word, and then put the words down so that we can then start to understand what's being said here. Now, this one is a little different, because you'll see here, and Hebrew is right to left. So I'm going to read starting right here. And that's the beginning of Isaiah 9:6, and I'm going to go this way, and then, then down to the next line like that, and etc., etc. So we have, for child born to us, son given to us, will be dominion on, and gotta scroll it a little bit. Dominion on shoulder will be called Name, Wonderful, Counselor, God mighty. And again, there's no capitalization or punctuation in the Hebrew. So this Hebrew, is just, it raises the same questions as our Greek as far as whether this God means God Yahweh. It doesn't say Yahweh, and it would have easily been able, could have put the tetragrammaton in here. Yod He Vav He right there. They didn't. They used the word for God, which, we just have to wonder. It's El, E-L, essentially. The translation is E-L. El. Not El Elyon or Adonai or Yahweh or Elohim. It's El, which is just lowercase God. But it says God mighty, Father perpetual, ruler, peace, increase of dominion, peace, no end on the throne of David. Over dominion, order, it sustains. Judgment, justice, forward, even forever. Passion of Yahweh. Now here we do have Yahweh mentioned. So it stands to reason that if this other mention of God, or the name of God, if it truly meant Yahweh, just as it has done there, just as this Yahweh is included to mean God the Father, then if this was supposed to mean Yahweh, meaning Jesus was Yahweh, equivalent, it would have used that name there too. It didn't. It used the lowercase God, El. So it's one of those things, like when someone asks me a question and it's a brief question. The answer is not straightforward. It's not easy to answer honestly. Forever passion Yahweh of hosts, and that's one of God's titles in the Old Testament and in old pseudepigrapha and old Jewish writings, was the Father of hosts, or the God of hosts, the host of heaven, meaning the angels. So here it uses that phrase, Yahweh of hosts, accomplish this, word sent Yahweh by Jacob and has fallen to Israel. Now that has to do with the judgment, essentially. Sometimes they render that the judgment of Jacob has fallen to Israel, etc. But you can see again, now this one's a little more like our modern version in the sense that it kind of includes that wonderful counselor, mighty God, perpetual Father, ruler of peace. So some of those phrases seem to be in this one. But now what I want you to do with me is go where I went first when I was asked this question. And give me just a second to bring that up. I should have had this ready, but I didn't get it quite quick enough. So I am going to be in the Septuagint. So you can go to this online as well, as easily as I can. But I'm going to go to Isaiah. Let me see if I can get it in frame better for you. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. Now this was the eye-opener for me that launched me into this study. This person asked me in Isaiah 9:6, does it say everlasting Father? And here's what the Septuagint says. Chapter 9, verse 6. For a child is born to us, and a son is given to us, whose government is upon his shoulder, and his name is called the Messenger of Great Counsel. What is the name angel translated as often, or meaning, the meaning in Strong's? Messenger, angel and messenger. That's why the Septuagint in Greek, that word angelos that we saw in the other manuscripts, is translated messenger here. It means angel. His name is called the Messenger, or the Angel of Great Counsel. For I will bring peace upon the princes, peace upon the angel principalities, the princes of the heathen nations, and health to him. His government shall be great, and to his peace there will be no end. It shall be upon the throne of David, upon his kingdom, to establish and support it with judgment and righteousness from henceforth and forever. The seal of the Lord of hosts shall perform this. And you can see this same phrase we saw in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Lord has sent death upon Jacob. It has come to Israel. So you can see now the difficulty. You didn't see and hear that phrase, everlasting Father. All right? It does say he's going to have an everlasting kingdom. And that Jesus, in those other manuscripts, he's going to be the Father of the coming age, meaning he's going to reign and rule over the coming age, the age of Messiah. And it calls him an angel of great counsel. Now, I don't think for a second that Jesus Christ is an angel in the sense of like a cherubim or a seraphim, but we've already established in the other videos that Jesus Christ was the first begotten of the Father. The early church fathers said that the first work of God the Father was the begetting of the Son. And that's why they were pre-existent in heaven before creation. And so, I told the guy who asked me this question the same thing that I'm telling you now, and that is the answer's not straightforward, but here's the rabbit trail you can follow. And if you look at all these old manuscripts and you start seeing what's in the Greek in each one, and we went all the way back we went to Hebrew, but then when you hit the Septuagint, and by the way, the Septuagint, according to the early church fathers, was written before the copy that I just showed you from the Dead Sea Scrolls was copied or made, however that came about. There was a lot of authority and weight given to the Septuagint. I personally, after I've done many different studies and used the Septuagint time after time to check my work and to look at what it says in regards to certain things, I keep finding it to be established in authority. I keep finding it to answer questions, to help clarify things, because it seems to be super accurate and meaningful, especially since, the church fathers, I don't think there's any church father that said the Septuagint was not authoritative or that it was not a good copy. In fact, they spent time, and I could get that information for you and do another video, but they spent time out saying how good that translation was and that they saw the hand of God in that Greek translation, the Septuagint. So all this just to say, I tried to answer my viewer, and I wish that those answers were really straightforward and easy. They're not. It took me, I would guess I have 6 to 8 hours of study in what you've seen in this video, just going through those different manuscripts, trying to translate the words myself when I don't have much Greek background or Hebrew background. I'm getting more though, obviously. So I hope this is helpful. I hope it explains a little bit about what our translators have to go through to get things into our modern translations. So to me, what it makes me want to do is verify things. When I read something in my modern translation that it leaves question marks for me, or it doesn't seem exceedingly clear, or it bumps up against something and seems like a conflict, that's when I start going to other translations, older translations, like you've seen. I generally don't go to the codices, the Vaticanus, the Alexandrinus, etc. But I do often try the Septuagint and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Often bounce things off of those two sources. And I would recommend that you do that if you come across verses in Scripture that, like I said, you have a difficulty with them, something doesn't seem clear enough. Sometimes it helps to get other testimony from different writings to help you. It helps you clarify it. Even if something seems to contradict the Bible, I'm not saying you you don't take those works over the Bible per se, but you do need to understand how the translators had to deal with what was in those old manuscripts. Just as we've done in this video here, and I was able to show you, this is what they had to deal with. They had to look at these scrolls and then translate. They had to look at this Hebrew on parchment, and they had to figure out what was being said. And as you can see, it's not always straightforward. And you have to understand that translators also have a point of view. They have a belief system. So when you have a 18th or 19th or 20th or 21st century scholar who is and has been Trinitarian all their lives, translating these parchments, these fragments, these manuscripts, these scrolls, these codices, and you see the differences, and it just, I think maybe you understand it's not as clear cut as people would like for it to be. And so anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you for joining me again. I hope this is helpful. It at least helps you see some of the complexity there is in the translation of Scripture, why everything's not as cut and dry as our modern translations sometimes make it appear. So thank you again for your time, and I hope that you and your families are staying safe during this time in our country's history, our world's history, and God bless you and yours. Take care.